So picture this. You're scrolling through your Instagram feed, right?
Right, as we all do way too much.
Exactly. And you see an ad for this incredibly cool, innovative new gadget. Maybe it's a sleek smart home device or, I don't know, a high-end coffee accessory.
Oh, I'm a total sucker for the coffee stuff.
See in here. So you click it, you buy it directly from their website, and like 2 days later, it arrives at your door. We all know that loop.
Yeah, the classic direct-to-consumer model.
Right. But have you ever stopped to wonder how that exact same gadget makes the massive, almost gravity-defying leap from a targeted social media ad to, sitting on a prime end cap at Target?
Or stacked to the warehouse ceiling in a Costco. It's a huge jump.
It really is. It looks like magic from the outside, like a product simply willed its way into physical existence across thousands of stores.
Yeah, but that leap is driven by a highly complex, often really unforgiving machinery operating entirely behind the scenes.
And demystifying that hidden machinery is our mission today. We are looking at the architecture of retail expansion.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is. And we're drawing on the operational framework built by Johann Jacob, who is the president and founder of Retailbound. They're a retail channel management consultancy.
Right, they're essentially the architects who help brands launch and scale across more than 150 different retailers in the US and Canada.
Okay, let's unpack this. Launching a product is an incredible milestone, but scaling it from an online storefront into mass retail is a fundamentally different business model.
It really requires a complete rewiring of a company's DNA. Like, the most dangerous assumption a brand can make is believing that their direct-to-consumer success automatically translates to the physical shelf.
Oh, absolutely.
You can have a product going viral, selling out consistently online, and still just faceplant when you enter physical retail.
Because the logistics are so different.
Exactly. The infrastructure required to ship a single, perfectly branded box to a residential address shares almost zero DNA with the infrastructure needed to route 40 pallets to a massive national distribution center.
And on a strict, non-negotiable timetable, too.
Right.
It actually reminds me of the difference between cooking a brilliant dinner for your family versus being hired to run the kitchen at a 500-seat restaurant.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like, the core recipe might be exactly the same.
Yeah.
But the logistics of serving 500 people simultaneously without burning the food or, bankrupting the restaurant is an entirely different profession.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that operational leap is exactly where Retailbound focuses their initial intervention. It's a phase they call getting retail ready.
Retail ready, okay.
Because if you approach a major retail buyer before that restaurant kitchen is built, you will completely burn the opportunity.
And you probably don't get a second chance with those buyers.
You really don't. There is no one-size-fits-all playbook, but the foundation always starts with tearing down and rebuilding the brand's pricing and margin structures.
Well, let's run the math on that, because I imagine the margin collapse is where most early-stage brands bleed out.
Oh, it's the #1 killer.
Because when you sell online, you are capturing all the profit. You control the price, you pay the shipping, and you keep whatever is left.
Right, but the moment you step into physical retail, you are suddenly feeding a whole ecosystem of middlemen.
You are introducing an entirely new food chain.
Exactly. Let's say you sell a gadget for $100 online, and it costs you $30 to make.
Okay, easy enough.
In the DTC world, you have $70 of gross profit to play with for customer acquisition, operations, paying yourself, whatever.
That's a solid margin.
It is. But in mass retail, a major big box store might demand a 40 to 50% margin just to stock the item.
Wait, really? That much?
Yeah, that knocks $40 or $50 right off the top.
Okay, and then you have to factor in the distributors who physically move the product to the store.
Right, because they don't work for free.
No, they probably want their, 10 to 15% cut as well?
They absolutely do. So suddenly, your $70 of profit is whittled down to maybe $5 or $10.
Wow. That is terrifying.
It gets worse. If a brand hasn't rigorously analyzed this new margin structure, or if their cost of goods fluctuates even slightly due to a supply chain hiccup, they can end up in a nightmare scenario.
Like losing money on every sale.
Exactly. They might sign a massive purchase order, enthusiastically ship 1 million units to a big box retailer, and eventually realize they are actively losing money on every single unit that gets scanned at the register.
So you could literally sell your way into bankruptcy.
You really could. It happens all the time.
Which means getting retail ready isn't just about tweaking a spreadsheet. It's about potentially having to re-engineer your manufacturing costs or adjust your entire MSRP before you even knock on a buyer's door.
That's exactly right.
And I imagine packaging has to undergo a similar ruthless overhaul because a corrugated box designed to survive a FedEx truck doesn't necessarily work on a store shelf.
Not at all. A DTC box just needs to be durable and perhaps look nice when you open it in your living room. Retail packaging has to be a silent salesperson. It must stand upright on a 14-inch gondola shelf without tipping over.
Oh, so the actual physical geometry matters.
Immensely. It has to catch a distracted shopper's eye from 3 feet away under harsh fluorescent lighting. It needs to accommodate retailer-specific anti-theft tags and barcode placements.
So if your packaging design doesn't factor in that specific shelf space, they simply won't stock it.
They'll reject it outright.
That brings us to the supply chain itself. The logistics of feeding that shelf. I assume the leniency you get with online customers, like sending an email saying, hey, sorry, your order's delayed by 2 days, does not fly when you're dealing with Walmart or Costco.
Oh, absolutely not. Retailers operate on incredibly strict receiving windows. We are talking about delivery appointments where missing your slot by an hour can result in the truck being turned away entirely.
By an hour.
Yeah, and that's usually followed by severe financial penalties known as chargebacks. Think about it. If a retailer commits to placing your product on an end cap for a National Memorial Day promotion, and your supply chain can only deliver half the volume, or delivers it a week late, you haven't just lost a sale.
You've jeopardized the retailer's broader promotional strategy.
Exactly. You left a gaping hole in their store during a major holiday. Retailbound's process mandates that a brand's fulfillment capabilities are audited and hardened against that kind of institutional rigor before a pitch is ever made.
Okay, so let's assume the math works. The margins are stress tested, the packaging is optimized for the shelf, and the supply chain is completely bulletproof. The house is officially in order.
A great place to be.
But that still doesn't explain how a no-name startup gets a massive retailer to actually return their phone calls.
Yeah.
We always hear about the buyers, the gatekeepers of retail.
The elusive buyers.
Yeah. Looking at the framework, my deduction is that these buyers aren't just trendsetters looking for the coolest new gadget.
Yeah, not at all.
They seem like highly risk-averse data analysts managing incredibly expensive real estate.
That is the perfect psychological profile of a retail buyer.
Really?
Yeah. They're pitched thousands of products a week, and they are not evaluated on how innovative their category looks. They're measured on ruthless performance metrics.
Like what kind of metrics?
Well, they look at gross margin return on investment. They look at inventory turns, which is basically the velocity at which a product sells out and needs to be restocked.
Because shelf space is finite.
Exactly. Every time they put an unproven product on the shelf, they have to remove a proven product that was already generating predictable revenue.
Oh, I never thought about it like that. It's a zero-sum game.
It really is.
So pitching a buyer isn't about showing them a flashy marketing video. It's about proving that your product is financially safer and faster moving than whatever is currently sitting in that 14-inch slot.
What's fascinating here is how Retailbound navigates that specific friction point. Because their consultants aren't just charismatic salespeople.
What are they?
They are actually former retail buyers and senior executives. They used to occupy the exact seats of the people they are pitching.
Oh, wow. So they know exactly how the game is played.
Down to the smallest detail. They understand that a buyer for Best Buy looks at metrics totally differently than a buyer for Target. Or, say, a regional grocery chain.
It functions like having a native translator in a high-stakes diplomatic meeting. Like, a founder might want to spend 30 minutes talking about the proprietary technology inside their coffee maker.
Which the buyer doesn't care about.
Right. But the former buyer knows the retail gatekeeper only wants to hear about the supply chain redundancy, the margin guarantees, and the forecasted sell-through rate.
And they know the calendar. Retail operates on rigid seasonal cycles known as line reviews.
Line reviews.
Yeah, so if you want your product on the shelf for the holiday shopping season in December, you can't pitch it in October. You are likely presenting in April or May, and the format of that presentation is highly formalized.
So it's incredibly structured.
Very much so. An outsourced retail sales organization like Retailbound manages that entire sales cycle, from securing the initial meeting to structuring the presentation exactly how the buyer's internal systems require it.
The source material also emphasizes managing the contract negotiation and something called promotional funding.
Ah, yes, promotional funding.
Now, when I hear promotional funding, I am immediately translating that to pay to play.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
It sounds like brands are effectively forced to subsidize their own discounts or pay out of pocket just to get decent shelf placement. That would completely obliterate the margins we just talked about if you aren't prepared for it.
It is a massive blind spot for new brands. Retailers will often require vendors to contribute financially to weekly circular ads, seasonal markdowns, or premium placement, like those end caps at the front of the aisle.
Right, because the retailer isn't going to take the hit for that marketing.
Exactly. They might also include clauses for markdown allowances.
Meaning what?
Meaning, if the product doesn't sell at full price, the brand has to cover the cost of the discount.
Wow.
Yeah. So a consultant who used to be a buyer knows exactly which of these fees are standard, which are negotiable, and which represent a predatory deal that the brand should just walk away from.
Navigating the traps before they spring.
Okay.
I love that. So, okay, the foundation is built, the insider team has translated the pitch, the contracts are successfully negotiated, and the product is finally sitting on the physical shelf. Victory, right?
You'd think so.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Getting the product onto the shelf is only half the equation.
Barely half, honestly.
The natural assumption is that once the boxes are unpacked at the store, the heavy lifting is done. The reality is that staying on the shelf is a constant battle for momentum.
Yeah, getting on the shelf is an achievement. Staying there is a full-time job.
Because stores aren't museums.
Right. Retailers do not view their stores as storage facilities. They expect velocity. If a product just sits there gathering dust, the buyer's metrics will trigger a red flag.
And then what happens?
The inventory turns drop, the product gets marked down, sold through on clearance, and permanently replaced.
Ouch.
To prevent that, Retailbound has to shift its machinery from sales management to aggressive channel marketing.
Driving the sell-through.
Yeah.
Because you can't just rely on passive foot traffic anymore. You can't just hope someone wanders down aisle 14 and happens to notice your cool new packaging.
Not at all. You have to orchestrate the collision between the shopper and the product.
Orchestrate the collision. I like that phrasing.
Thanks. It involves coordinating in-store merchandising displays, running geo-targeted digital ads around specific store locations, and timing retail promotions so that the consumer is actively looking for your product when they walk through the automatic doors.
And we have to factor in the omni-channel reality of modern shopping, too.
Yeah.
Because the line between physical retail and e-commerce has completely dissolved.
Completely.
Like half the time I am standing in a physical store aisle, I'm simultaneously on that retailer's app checking the reviews, comparing specs, or seeing if they have a different color in the back room.
We all do it. And that behavioral loop is exactly why an omnichannel strategy is non-negotiable today. A brand's presence on Target.com or HomeDepot.com has to be as meticulously managed as their physical shelf space.
Because they feed into each other.
Precisely. If a customer is standing in the aisle holding your premium product, but they pull up the retailer's app and find a product page with low-resolution images, missing descriptions, and unmanaged negative reviews, the physical sale is lost.
Not to mention the infrastructure of BOPIs. Buy online, pick up in store.
Oh, BOPIS is a huge factor now.
Right. If the digital inventory doesn't sync perfectly with the physical store inventory, the customer gets frustrated, the retailer gets frustrated, and ultimately the brand takes the blame.
The synergy between the digital product page and the physical box is what ultimately drives that sell-through velocity the buyer demands. It is a continuous feedback loop that have to be monitored daily.
Okay, so the theory is incredibly comprehensive. We're talking rebuilding margins, utilizing insider negotiators, and driving omni-channel sell-through. Let's look at how this machinery operates in the real world, because Retailbound's track record highlights some pretty staggering outcomes.
They have some great case studies.
Yeah. There is a consumer electronics startup mentioned in the text that was purely direct-to-consumer. They utilized this exact framework, landed placement in both Best Buy and Target, and skyrocketed their revenue by 300% in just 12 months.
Which is incredible. But this raises an important question.
What's that?
How does a framework apply so effectively to a lean startup, but also deliver results for established corporate giants? Because the other prominent case study is a health and wellness brand that was already entrenched in retail.
Right. They weren't looking for their first placement. They brought in the consultancy to restructure their existing strategy and ended up increasing their profit margins by 15%. My deduction with the established health and wellness brand is that they were likely trapped in those predatory distributor agreements we mentioned earlier. Or maybe bleeding out through unmanaged promotional funding.
That's a very solid bet.
So by bringing in former buyers to audit the operation, they could identify where the margin was leaking, fire the inefficient middlemen, and basically renegotiate the vendor agreements to claw back that 15%.
Yeah, that is the duality of this kind of retail channel management.
It serves two totally different purposes.
Right. For startups, Retailbound acts as a set of heavy-duty guardrails, ensuring the initial launch isn't derailed by supply chain failures or naive contract negotiations.
Keep them from blowing it on day one.
Right. But for multi-ski brands companies managing dozens of different product variations, sizes, and colors across multiple channels, they act as an optimization engine
Fixing what's broken.
and finding new growth. They analyze the existing retail footprint, untangle broken distributor relationships, and open up new, highly targeted regional channels to reignite stalled sales.
And a crucial philosophical pillar of that optimization is the concept of precision targeting, which kind of goes against the grain, right? Because the instinct for any brand is the desire for ubiquity.
Of course. You want your logo everywhere.
You want it on every shelf, in every store, in every corner. But the data-driven approach dictates that success is about being in the right retailers, not all retailers.
Ubiquity without strategy is a fast track to brand dilution. You have to map the product to the retailer's specific demographic and price expectations.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if you take a high-end premium tech gadget and force it into a heavy discount retailer just to claim the shelf space, you will fail.
Because the customers don't match.
Exactly. The foot traffic is there, sure, but the intent to purchase a premium product is not.
Right.
So the product won't sell through, the inventory turns will stagnate, and the resulting clearance markdowns will completely destroy the brand's premium positioning in the wider market.
So it's really about analyzing a network of over 150 different retail relationships across mass market, club, specialty, and regional channels. And then engineering a bespoke pitch for the specific buyer whose customer base actively wants what you are selling.
Yes. Precision placement generates velocity, and velocity is the only currency that keeps you on the shelf.
So what does this all mean? We have mapped an incredible operational journey today. We started with the harsh reality that a viral direct-to-consumer product is not inherently ready for physical retail.
Not even close.
We walked through the necessity of tearing down margin structures and hardening the supply chain. We decoded the psychology of the retail buyer, revealing why you need industry insiders who speak the language of inventory turns and gross margin returns.
The native translators.
Exactly. And we explored the relentless omnichannel marketing required to maintain momentum once the product actually lands on the shelf.
It ultimately means that retail expansion is a high-stakes marathon. Attempting to navigate the complexities of line reviews, promotional funding, and supply chain chargebacks without an experienced guide is a profound operational risk.
It's just flying blind.
It is. It is the difference between sending hopeful emails into the void and executing a calculated strategy that actually results in a signed contract and sustainable growth.
It fundamentally changes how you view the physical shopping experience.
It really does, and that leaves you with something to really mull over.
Oh, definitely.
The next time you are walking down the brightly lit aisle of a major retailer and you reach out to grab a shiny new product off a perfectly stocked end cap, ask yourself a question.
Are you simply exercising your free will to choose the best product?
Or are you stepping into the final sequence of a perfectly executed, entirely invisible retail strategy that has been maneuvering behind the scenes for months? Optimizing margins, negotiating with gatekeepers, and syncing digital assets, all to ensure your hand lands on that exact box.
The invisible architecture of the aisle. It is fascinating to realize how much calculated effort goes into that one split-second decision. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We look forward to unraveling the next complex system with you soon.